Sounds good, Charlie.
This thing. Hey! I should be quiet because my son is sleeping. He's sleeping in the house, in this house that is not by a cemetery, but could be. Who knows? Maybe it is by a. Actually, I don't know. Maybe there is a cemetery nearby. I have no idea. But either which way, welcome to my after show thing, Survivors of the Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs, but not actually with Joe Bob Briggs. We're not popular enough to have Joe Bob Briggs here. Instead, it's just Michael Keene and his delightful patrons. And we're going to be talking about what we just watched, which was The Last Drive-In, episode 1 of season 3 of the best show on television, now or previously or in the future. Mad Men can suck a dick. It's all about that, Joe Bob. And of course, if anybody out there is part of the Mutant fam, wants to lay down some thoughts over in the chit chat, go ahead and do that. That'll be showing up. But as far as the actual speakers and talkers up in this business, we got my patrons. So I'm going to move on over to this. Look at this. I got this big screen. This big fucking screen. Where I got the things with the stuff. With the fucking, I got that Eli Roth turkey over there. Oh, let me switch the chat is hidden. Let's go ahead and pop that. Okay, I think, let's see here. There we go. Now it's up top. There we go. Everybody, oh, wow. So I am going to be the only one on camera. That's okay.
Oh, I don't mind popping mine on. Hold on.
Okay, Diggum's going to show his face. All right. Okay. And then we got, there we go. Oh, look at you with all your shit in the background. All right, let's see. Let me just make sure everybody, okay, so Diggum, introduce yourself. I want to see what your audio looks like.
Yeah, hey, I'm Diggum. That's what they call me. That's
cool. Let's see. So we're just gonna go through. So we got this little motherfucker label. How do you pronounce your screen name, by the way? Is it Titus Duras? Titus Duras? No, he's not. Is he not? Oh, his mic's not on. Okay. All right. All that is man. Introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Brian. You see me around. I'm all that is man, and Bob sucks. That's all.
All right, Danny boy. Danny, you here, Danny?
Yo, it's Dan, Italian Dan. I don't know if I got a visual here.
Oh, hey, look at you.
Hey there, just popping in. Wanted to chat about Joe Bob, and we saw a Fulci movie tonight, so that got me excited as well.
Yeah.
All right, I can tell you're a fan of Fulci because you get it because the vision. Yeah, you got it. All right, and then Joey. Oh well, Joey's mic appears to be muted as well.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm Joey, and I'm here to talk about Joe Bob as well. Fun hanging out with patrons, So subscribe, get on there, hang out with us, and talk about movie stuff like we're gonna do right now.
All right, and Joey, your audio is a little bit low comparatively. I don't know if you have anything to fix that.
I don't. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. That's all right. Okay, so and we already have some commenters. I'm glad that people are tuning in because it is late as fuck. I mean, for me, it's only 11:19, but I know for a lot of folks, it's like 2, 3. However, I don't know how time zones work. I've forgotten that lifestyle. Hey, look at that. We got another one. Wait, we need a microphone, though. We don't have any mic set up over here.
It is a Twin Peaks fan. I was just thinking that.
Can't hear you. Oh, this is all falling apart. Oh, everything's,
how about now?
Everything's all. There we go. There it is. That's the ticket.
Cool.
God, everybody has a nicer office than I do. What the hell?
My office isn't nice. It's filthy.
Yeah, well, mine's filthy too, but I hide it with good lighting. All right, so let me actually. I actually have a script for this. Let me first check out what the chat's saying. Fulci, more like eye zooms, says Kat. Machine Gun Etiquette 9 says, man, Eli Roth's rant was great. I agree. It was fucking delightful. It got me all nice and hard for Eli Roth. I wanted to just pull him over to me and just like slip it in his VCR slot. Let's see. Fulci lives and the drive-in will never die. Absolutely. Carey Mulligan, of course, is here. Award-winning actress Carey Mulligan is in the chat. Didn't actually watch the Shutter, the last drive-in, but is here for the live chat. Yeah. All right. So, first off, just in general, everybody enjoy the first episode of this season?
I sure did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. Like anytime Joe Bob comes back, it's a small holiday, And we watched Joe Bob more so for his commentary, and it really delivered with the Eli Roth said earlier. It was just great to hear someone with so much passion and learn about Fulci, because I didn't know much about Italian horror. I watched a few movies like we were talking about in chat, and it was just a great experience.
Eli Roth made the show big time for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree with that. Yeah. Eli Roth, like I personally love both movies that were played tonight. I know some people were less into some of them, but I think that beyond that, Eli Roth over-delivered and is, I think, one of my favorite guests so far, just as far as like what, the input given from them. I mean, I would say that there are certain guests who carry more prestige, who, it was cooler to see them like with Joe Bob and talking to Joe Bob. But as far as just like exuding energy and passion on the subject matter, Eli Roth fucking stood out.
I
His
agree.
passion was amazing.
Yeah, he's also just charismatic. Just nice to listen to.
Yeah.
Well, he's
his
a
eyes.
1,000 years old and, doesn't look like it. So
Yeah. It's crazy.
Always nice.
Eli Roth. I looked this up because someone mentioned it in chat that he doesn't look like he's aged today. He is 49 years old, I think.
Yeah,
He
something
is
like that.
and not 49's not that old, but for that face, when you see that face, it's like Jesus Christ, it looks like he's 30 still. Piece of shit. I look like I look older than Eli Roth. It's ridiculous. Yeah, oh fuck, I lost my script. 1 second. Oh god. Oh shit. Oh fuck. Oh, this is all ruined. Oh, this is so bad. Oh
You done
god.
messed it
Oh
up.
god, where's it? Shitting dicks. Oh, shitting dicks. Oh shit, there it is. Okay. So, first off, we're not saving any fucking whales tonight, baby. That's what I meant to be my starting line, and I forgot about it entirely. So I guess, we had two movies, Mother's Day and House by the Cemetery. Mother's Day directed by Charles Kaufman, brother of Lloyd Kaufman, arguably the better director in the family, based on watching Mother's Day tonight. I love Lloyd Kaufman dearly. I think he's amazing. I love his energy, but I can't say that any movie I've seen from Lloyd Kaufman is quite as well put together as Mother's Day. There's definitely movies I enjoy more. Terra Firma, for example, is one of my favorite movies of all time, period. But this was like Mother's Day, 1980, fucking solid film that maybe gets a little uncomfortable at times. Do we have any Mother's Day haters in this chat?
I don't hate it, but I don't like it either.
Okay. Well, Brian, what did you not like about Mother's Day?
It was I thought it was going to go more on the silly route, and then it just got really mean-spirited and kind of drew me away from the movie.
I can see that's fair. It is a very it presents the second act is very heavy. Jackie, oh, by the way, full spoilers for these two movies, so if you didn't watch the movies or you haven't seen them, fuck off. Or don't. I mean, I don't know. You might not care. I don't know you. We are not friends. Or maybe we are if you're a friend of mine watching. I don't know. This is YouTube. So I'm much more energetic than I anticipated. I was so tired this entire time. Mother's Day, Jackie's death is really heavy. Everything that leads to her dying is super heavy because, as I think Joe Bob mentions, she gets raped to death. Like, that's just what happens in the movie. And yet, at the same time, this is a movie that starts off in a very silly manner. It starts off with a lot of kind of that Kaufman satire thing. That like you have the like there's a like a porter or something at the hotel or apartments or whatever, who's black, and he makes a comment about being black in America. And then well before that, we get the criminals who are going to mug the titular mother, and they don't do that, and we almost get our first rape scene actually, and then things just kind of turn into more kind of borderline torture. But it feels very silly. Like you get that decapitation early on. It's very, very dumb looking. And it's like, okay, this is like a violent, sleazy, dumb movie. Cool. We got this going on. And then, like, once our characters get kidnapped, about 30 minutes in from their campsite, which they've been having a good old time. There's a lot of way more flashbacks in this movie than you would expect from this kind of film. But once they get taken by mother and her sons, it gets pretty fucked up. You know, we get a little bit of them being silly characters. Both sons are very oddball types. And then it's oh, look at that. It's rape o'clock. And it does not really let up a whole lot until the ending, which I would say gives a lot of catharsis following that. And I think that's what I really liked about the film is I liked it, by the way, as much as you guys should like this stream. Go down, hit that thumbs up, you motherfuckers. But it's one of those movies that it really lives or dies on those final moments. And for me, it's not quite I spit on your grave levels of comeuppance. I feel like that's like as far as that aspect, that's kind of a masterpiece. But it almost gets there. As Joe Bob noted, both of the characters I think Joe Bob said it, basically dies 3 times. And accurate. They get a couple different methods of death, suiting their characters, suiting their crimes, and not quite as torturous as I would have liked for those characters, considering how much they put specifically Jackie through. But a lot, like, I think it works. What did y'all think of the ending for Mother's Day?
I mean, just to comment on the rape, Lloyd Kaufman seems like the kind of guy that like thinks rape is funny. And like, I'm not knocking the guy. I'm just saying like he finds the humor in bad things, and like so, Lloyd Kaufman is the guy that goes, look at that, haha. You know what I mean? But not in a bad. I don't know how to describe that.
I know what you're saying. Yeah, I see, especially in something like Troma's War with the whole AIDS thing, and the girl or woman getting AIDS or being raped by Señorcita. Is Señorcita the one? Yeah, Señorcita rapes her, and spoilers for Troma's War, by the way. And then at the same time, you also get the titty shot in that scene, and it's very uncomfortable and feels like it's meant to be kind of a laugh. But here we have Charles Kaufman, his brother, doing I think a more serious, like not serious take, but more restrained, if that makes sense. Slightly more restrained. It's hard to really describe it.
Right, he's not as over the top with the humor and stuff.
Like he's not. Like,
you know, spot humor, constant. Like it was there, but it wasn't. It's like, look at the camera. Here it is.
Yeah, it seems like Lloyd and Charles have since Charles is no longer making movies, kind of this innate thing to vary in tone. They have no interest in staying with one tone. But this one definitely, once it gets serious, it doesn't really stray too far. There's kind of like, it ebbs and flows, but it stays mostly fairly serious, with the addition of some kind of wacky performances, which I think overall, I admittedly, I am very lax when it comes to performances in films, but I thought everyone here did such a good job that I was shocked to find out how many never did anything else. Like the girls, the main actresses, 2 of them never did anything else, and one only did 2 other projects in her career. And I, maybe they just didn't want to, be actors, maybe they just couldn't find the work, but either which way, like everybody did a fantastic job. Like it's a well acted, well shot, well directed film, and I think that's the big thing when you come in and you're watching a trauma movie. You don't necessarily expect all three of those things to be there, but it's a very professional production, everything considered, and as Joe Bob noted, shot around the same lake in Blairstown, New Jersey, as Friday the 13th, which I very much got that feel. I don't know that I would have like pinned it without knowing that ahead of time, but when you know that going in, it's like, oh yeah, this does look just like those woods. Let's see, we got Kat weighed in with their opinion. I felt like Mother's Day wasn't as poor taste as the Blood Games rape. That's fair. The way it was shot in Blood Games felt very off from the tone of the scene. Mother's Day was a solid tone throughout. I wouldn't say the tone is solid throughout, but I do think that I think it has its thing and it sticks with that thing. And that thing is being a little, as I said, like kind of ebbs and flows. But
I think that's really interesting because whenever a rape happens in a movie, it pretty much turns me off from the movie almost completely. But really, Blood Games is one of the few exceptions I made. So that's really interesting because I feel like that was one of the more interesting ones I've ever seen in a movie, especially since it happens pretty much at the beginning of like the third act of the movie, which I thought was an interesting choice. Maybe that makes it easier for me to swallow as opposed to like that's the inciting incident.
I agree with Diggum.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would have to go back and rewatch Blood Games to have a like that big of an opinion on it. As I've still only watched Blood Games once, because I suck. So let's see. So yeah, I love that we're at this. Hey guys, welcome to the YouTubes, where we believe in keeping everything advertiser friendly.
Yeah.
So we're talking about rape. I think it's so interesting to live in a time where, you know, political correctness is a pretty hot button topic, I think, to put it mildly. And at the same time, we are here appreciating how films implement rape scenes.
Well, I mean that's one of the things about rape is it's not really a thing as it was back in the 80s. So we can look at that and go, oh, you know, that's the way people were back then versus or 70s or 80s or shit. I mean, even 90s. You can look at that and go, that's the way the society was back then. You can look at it and acknowledge it rather than nowadays. It's if you see it, it's like it
hits differently nowadays than it does.
I mean, it's not light. It's not like hooray. You know, it's not that kind of thing. It's just you're looking at it and really seeing how society looks at rape. In that context, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It definitely, when you have a scene like that in a modern film, it's going to hit differently than to back then. And also, I mean, you have the simple, like it's one of those. Well, some things were less of a, I don't want to say less of an issue. Rape's always been a serious issue, but it was more, I guess, allowed. There was less pressure to be more careful, even if it was recognized as a bad thing and recognized as something for the grindhouse or something for, you know, exploitation pictures.
I think the severity of it is what you're looking at as you're sort of appreciating these movies. It's not, you know, the rape itself or anything like that. You're appreciating the movies and you're sort of looking at the severity, the context of it. You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, and that's kind of what I was getting into. I had a question in my notes here, which was, you know, when are these scenes necessary? And that's kind of I came up with that question as the ending of Mother's Day was happening. I was like, okay, well, this is implementing it perfectly, where it's very uncomfortable, but it is giving us a means for catharsis in the end.
Yeah,
you know, in the end of the day, this is
like the payoff has to go there. Like you say, Blood Games has that. This movie, Mother's Day, had it, and it's always uncomfortable, but you have to have the payoff because there's empowerment in it to overcome, even if it's just some exploitation or whatever else. You need to have that. You want that,
Right?
Human, you want that, and it did it well.
Yeah.
Like I love the girls in their third act. Like when they came back and they brought Jackie. Like she's gonna watch. I want Jackie to see what they do to these fucking assholes and what they did, and that was great. I love that. And it so counterbalanced that first act where they were so sweet to each other and just friends, the Rat Pack, playing the pranks, having the photo slideshow to open up the movie, and it worked. That second act lost me a bit, but it all tied together with the book.
Right. I loved they called out the flashback to the football stadium or whatever with the naked dude. And Eli Roth made a very good point about it that I'm not going to try to replicate because he did very well. But those scenes, like when they add up, it's an overabundance of characterization. I think that's the big thing. Is if you're going to have a scene like this, as I said, you need the catharsis element at the end, but you also need to not see the person that it's being done to as just a piece of meat or a two-dimensional character. You want to have as much behind that as possible. I think that kind of shows a lot of understanding of the severity of it from Kaufman, where it could just be a very exploitative moment, and it doesn't feel like that. It feels cruel, but it feels cruel like the characters are cruel. It doesn't necessarily feel like the film is being mean about it. At least as far as I saw it. And that's, mileage is going to vary. These kind of things, some people aren't going to be able to watch them, period. There's going to be some people who have experience with this, plenty of people who have experience with this, who can't really, deal with it in a film, which is fine. Sorry, I got distracted by chat. I always get distracted by chat. Yeah, Matt. I mean, honestly, I could see them come. I don't know what the history is with the title Mother's Day, but I feel like there's an equal chance, and I'm sure someone has the answer out there, but I'm sure there's an equal chance of them coming up with this just to utilize the title Mother's Day, kind of like Friday the 13th, where it's like, well, no one's used this title, so fuck it. Or Halloween, no one's used this title before.
It's totally a holiday slasher. Totally.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily call it a slasher. It's very much a backwoods revenge flick. I saw someone in chat, a couple, or not in chat, but in the Discord in our watch party, referenced Just Before Dawn, which I don't want to get into Just Before Dawn because it's not the topic and some people might not have seen it, but just to put this out there, a lot of people, when they watch Just Before Dawn, which does have a very heavy hillbilly element, they're going to get bored, and that's okay.
Crazy.
Stick with it, because the ending is well worth it. Even if you fucking hate the rest of the movie, has one of the best endings in all of slasher cinema.
That was great. Chat.
Would you
I want to see that movie now. After everybody talking about it in the chat, I wanted to see that movie.
Yeah, you should watch it.
Yeah, Just Before Dawn is. I preferred that movie to Mother's Day for sure. It's
would you consider Nothing But Trouble sort of like a good? If you like Nothing But Trouble, would you like Nothing Just Before Dawn?
I don't think there's a terribly heavy resemblance, but I do think that anyone who has the taste to enjoy Nothing But Trouble should be able to enjoy Just Before Dawn, even though they have very little resemblance outside of the kind of hillbilly stuck in the backwoods element. If you haven't seen Just Before Dawn, check it out. One of the best endings of all time. If you haven't seen Nothing But Trouble, check it out. One of the best cinematic experiences of all time, and one of the greatest villains, played by Dan Aykroyd.
Pure cinema.
Pure cinema. Wait.
If you like Just Before Dawn, or if you like Nothing But Trouble, you'll probably just like anything. So just watch anything, really.
So let's see here. Let's move on a little bit, because I don't want to. I want this to. This is, by the way, I forget to mention everything up front. This is a bit of a test, so please, in the comments for this video, let me know how you felt about it, what you think as far as the structure. I kind of put this together last minute because I am so busy that I could not finish a video for today. A lot of life stuff happening that I'm not going to delve into, but everything's fucked. So I thought, okay, we'll do a live show. It's Joe Bob. Let me know what you think of doing this live show. If people like this format, just talking about what we just watched, I'll do it every week. I mean, it's just a season of television. Fuck it. I can deal with being up a little bit late despite being an old man with old man bones that creak and break at a moment's notice. Let's see. Cat in chat saying nothing but trouble slaps hard. Yes, sir, it does.
Do.
And then some Just Before Dawn love, which I'm always happy to see.
Brian.
Brian.
I do like the ending of Just Before Dawn. I hate the rest of it, but the ending's worth it.
Please don't spoil it.
So let's see here.
I wanted to say another thing I didn't like about Mother's Day is they try to sympathize with the sons a little bit, and I just can't at all. I know they're trying to add layers. It didn't jive with me.
That's fair. I personally liked it because I like. It's kind of like and it's been a long time, so it might change. But I remember with I Spit on Your Grave, the main guy. I remember because, and I think I'm remembering this right. I haven't watched I Spit on Your Grave in years, despite owning that Scorpion release. But I believe the main guy has like a family and everything, and that's kind of part of his deal. Is he's part this rapist psycho, but at the same time he's a mechanic, I think, and he has a family. And
Yeah,
then
they show his kids in it too.
Yeah, and so when he gets his comeuppance, I felt like, okay, there's an element of this character that I can sympathize with. Not as much as in this film, but there is like an element of like knowing that this is going to affect his family, that gives me like that little ounce of sympathy. And for me, it helps because it means he's not just, it's kind of like the victim thing where the victim needs to be three-dimensional. I feel like having a three-dimensional antagonist also helps because it gives that little bit of extra, like, bit of questioning for me where I'm, like, yeah, I want to see that guy go down. At the same time, it doesn't stop me from wanting to go down, but oh man, that sucks. Or, oh, there is that little bit of emotion I have for this character. I do like this element of him, but then there's the rest of him that's like a fucking cancer that needs to be washed away, which is not a metaphor that works at all, but still. And I Spit on Your Grave, there is the guy that seems disabled. Or I think it's straight up that he's mentally disabled. I could be wrong, but that's another one where it's like, oh yeah, I feel bad for this guy because he's, even though he does a bad thing and he is a bad guy and he does deserve this fate, he also was kind of lured into it and forced into it, and he's still a piece of shit. But it sucks that maybe if he wasn't mentally disabled, he would have been able to see the way out. He would have been able to get his way out of the situation, and that's kind of how I feel. Like these characters in Mother's Day, not super likable in the end, but they're these two deranged, possibly one of them might be mentally disabled, but they, they've lived with this mother who's been, just kept them in the Pine Barrens or whatever and taught them how to act, put them through rigorous gym routines or whatever the fuck they're doing out there in that montage. And, they are in a way victims of Mother, even though in the end they are pieces of shit who get what's coming to them. They are victims of this woman. And so when she dies, the final boss goes down with a tit in her mouth. It works really brilliantly because you've seen her two sons go down. They have a bit of they have like that little ounce of sympathy to go along with it. So you have a bit more emotion towards them when they die. And then when she goes down, it's just like, yeah, fuck you, you bitch. You goddamn yourself fucker.
You rude lady.
You rude lady.
You bitch. I kind of saw it as like, do you remember that X-Files episode where with the worst X-Files episode where,
Home?
or not worse as far, yeah, the one where the sons are raping the mom under the bed.
Yeah.
And all, yeah. I kind of saw it sympathy-wise as that, as you know, like yeah, they're still assholes, but like, I mean,
They're raised to be that way.
You wouldn't be any better in this situation if you were shat out underneath the bed and then raped, or like it's weird, you know.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, I think actually Matt in chat kind of, I think, describes it perfectly. He says, I thought there was a pretty great blend of horror and dark comedy a la Texas Chainsaw Massacre. A little bit more comedic in this instance, but yeah, it is a nice blend. This Mother's Day for me, honestly, I think Mother's Day was the winning feature. As much as I'm very much the Fulci guy. I love me some Fulci. I think if I was to choose to rewatch either, like tomorrow, I would rewatch Mother's Day. It does help that this was a more fresh experience. I had like started Mother's Day years ago, and it's one of the like massive piles of movies that I mention all the time that I just never got around to finishing. And I found myself really pleased, whereas I have seen and own House by the Cemetery. Let me just make sure there's nothing else in my notes regarding Mother's Day specifically. The fucking Queenie story. I think that's another thing that really made this movie work, is it's full of setup and payoff. Setup and payoff are super important in a movie, especially a movie like this. And so you have set up, like, as far as the TV gag, Ike wants to be on TV. He dies getting a TV on his head. Perfect. Great setup, payoff. And, you get the overbearing mother who's smothering her children. I think that Joe Bob mentioned this. And she gets smothered to death at the end. Might have been Roth that said this. It doesn't matter. Setup, payoff. And my favorite is you have I don't remember which actress it is or which character, because Jackie's the only one. The other two, I couldn't get their names straight because I suck. But she has the overbearing mother that you hear from, and there's that chance that's just like a bit of characterization that's not going to go anywhere. But then in the end, she uses that frustration towards her actual mother in killing the titular mother. And that's great. And then finally, we get that Queenie story from Mother, where she describes like Queenie's long white hair, how she broke her neck in the crib. And you think like this is just her like making up bullshit stories to freak out her sons and keep them close by about her like monstrous sister. And then at the end, after for some reason they bury their friend in the Pine Barrens, I didn't really understand that. Queenie shows up for one last jump scare. A quintessential thing for movies of this period. You had Carrie, you had Friday the 13th. This is another one where it's just this last borderline incomprehensible jump scare, and it's just they set it up, paid it off. So good. And I think that's another thing right here, is this is a toit script. So toit.
Yes. They paid everything off. Everything they talked about earlier, it came back in a callback, and that was great. That was fun because like you didn't expect it at the very end, but it made sense and it was great.
Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on just the ending of Mother's Day before we move on?
I actually really like the ending.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people in Discord was just like, even those who were. Yeah, there were some people in the chat who were a little about the movie, and then a bunch of us were just like, yes, when Queenie shows up.
I like how high she jumped.
Yeah. Me and Brian both were like, we liked the first part, and then the middle really took us out of it. But like that last act pulled it all together and made it worth watching for sure.
I feel like a lot of movies can really, I think if you're like, and this is technically a flaw that a lot of screenwriters deal with, but it's also something to keep in mind, is that a lot of times the second act can feel a little iffy. It's a lot of the times that's the weakest part of a movie. And that is a problem. And if you are a writer, you should try your best to make that second act as good as possible and make it nice and toit. But at the same time, if there is one act that you can kind of just fuck around with and not worry about as much, it definitely is that second act, because first act is what has you that first 10 minutes either get you by the short hairs, or you start to not care as much. You don't give a fuck about what's happening. You lose track of the story, and the whole movie's ruined. But then if that second act really doesn't work with that amazing first act, that third just, if it fucking nails it, if it fucking just gets in there and just starts like, gets in there, it feels so good. Yeah, I personally, I liked the second act. I thought it was fine. But yeah, the first and third really just like carry it and make it, I think, a fucking fantastic film. So I was really pleased. And yeah, and Flickering Wave says both movies get better with their finales. 100%.
I'll have to rewatch it. That was the first time I ever saw it, and I came in 2/3 of the way in. But I was saying in chat that I thought it looked amazing. Of course, I just bought a new monitor. Yeah. A couple days ago, so I don't know if I'm just being an idiot, but it looked 1980. I totally did not think it came from 1980. It looked amazing.
I can say, I watched it mostly on my worst monitor. It looks great. It's a beautiful print. Yeah.
I watched it on a Walmart TV. It worked for me.
I wish this is actually side note. I usually watch these on my TV in the living room, and it looks much better. I was half working, at least through the second movie. First movie, which Mother's Day, for those just tuning in, is what we're talking about. 1980s Mother's Day. I watched it kind of more intently, and then second film, House by the Cemetery, I kind of half and half, because I still have this doc I'm working on. I am forever entrenched in Screen Rant editing, and I can't get out of it. I'm drowning, which is fine. I love money. Yeah, let's I think move on. I think that pretty much covers that, and of course Eli Roth, fucking whatever we say can't compare to how well he got his thoughts across on Mother's Day. I love, by the way, that Eli Roth showed Mother's Day at his bar mitzvah. I thought that was my favorite little anecdote, because that's amazing. That I can only imagine how many little Jewish boys he scarred with that movie. Good stuff. Also, Joe Bob had some fun facts, which I actually already talked about, except for Beatrice Pons, who plays Mother, was a fairly well-known comedian at the time who was using a pseudonym for her role, and that explains why she is just so good. She really puts a lot of energy and like eccentricity into the performance, and that makes her a great villain. And that's the beauty of comedians. They've got a lot of darkness in there that they can channel. And then Charlie and Lloyd's father makes a cameo snorting. No, wait. I think Charlie snorts coke. Charlie and Stanley Kaufman show up in this movie. I don't remember which ones, but they're at the party, which seems to have no real purpose for the rest of the film. But a lot of good stuff. Check out. I think Sunday is when the episode goes up. If you didn't watch this episode of Last Drive-In, highly recommend. Just good stuff. And then Matt says he showed Cannibal Holocaust to tribes people. According to Eli Roth in this episode, and I'm choosing to believe him just cause, but that was not actually his decision to show Cannibal Holocaust. That's what he said, right? I'm not crazy, right?
I think it's what he said, yeah.
Yeah, where it was like, they were like, oh, we should show him a movie, explain what it is. And then he later asked, what movie did you show him? And they said Cannibal Holocaust, because I guess that would help their performances in the film, which I'm not going to lie, I probably would have fired that person. Because that's how you end up in the movie for real.
Yeah, that's how you end up on the bad end of that.
Honestly, you know what? That's a great idea for a cannibal movie.
Yeah.
Is the filmmaker going in and showing the tribes people a movie like Cannibal Holocaust to prepare them, and then they're all just like, "Oh, this is what civilized people do," and just let the gore occur. So, House by the Cemetery.
My second favorite Fulci.
What's your favorite Fulci?
It's Zombie.
Okay, that's
Interesting.
fair enough. I'm not. For me, House by the Cemetery is a very, very good Fulci film. It is not one of his best for me. I would say, like, I don't have a ranking off the top of my head, but it's definitely not in the top 5 at the very least. I would definitely put it. I think Gates of Hell is probably my favorite Fulci film.
I'd probably agree with that.
Yeah, City of the Living Dead, great, just borderline perfect, out there. What the fuck am I watching? Italian horror cinema. And let's see, Devil's Honey is of course a favorite. I really like New York Ripper. I know that's not everybody's cup of tea. I'm really into it. I like a
No
good
way.
duck voice.
It's fantastic. That's his best movie. Devil's Honey, New York Ripper, right next to each other. It's fantastic.
Oh,
They're both fantastic.
I love what your lips are doing right now. Yeah. I could, I would say Zombie's ahead of this. Although even Zombie is not really I wouldn't put that in my top 5 either. Don't Torture a Duckling is up there. I would say Don't Torture a Duckling is probably in my top 5. And then also, Perversion Story is another one that I really enjoy. But House by the Cemetery, it's a very quintessential Fulci. It has a lot of the elements you would want. Technically, there's a zombie in there, kinda, sorta. At the very end, you've got the Giallo-esque murder sequences. That's great. The gore is top notch. I mean, it is top notch gore. And The Beyond, by the way. The Beyond, of course, is quintessential Fulci. I always forget to mention The Beyond I don't know why, but it always escapes my brain to mention The Beyond. But the gore is there. You've got the bad dubbing that's always there and is always wonderful. And Sorry, Joe Bob only makes a movie better. And there's a general sense of what the fuck am I watching, which is, again, quintessential. It's not in every Fulci movie. Beatrice Cinci, or however the fuck you say it, is very sensible. His gialli are pretty easy to follow, comparatively speaking, and make sense. But as far as like his Hell trilogy, not a lot of logic, and it's so good. It's there is logic. There's dream logic, so there is technically a lot of logic. It's all nonsense bullshit logic that doesn't really work for most humans that are not on drugs. As CR says, I love House, but it is, in my opinion, the weakest of the Gates of Hell trilogy. Yeah, I just don't think it stands up as well. I mentioned this in the Discord. It doesn't have with the as much character in its location as the other films do. In the Beyond, you have Louisiana, and there's that feel, that southern, gothic feel that he gets across perfectly. And then. City of the Living Dead also takes place in somewhere in New England, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Either which way, like there is this like small town feel in City of the Living Dead that also just works really, really well. And I really don't feel like there's much of a character to the location here. I mean, the house has character, but it's not as good as the Beyond's house. And it's cool. Like the idea of having the crypt underneath is a lot of fun. The look of that crack in the stone at the end is wonderful. That is a beautiful image, but it just, I don't know. It's just kind of, comparatively speaking, kind of there. It's fine compared to most Fulci. Compared to most Italian horror cinema, pretty fucking great. But compared to the rest of his oeuvre, doesn't work for me as well. Dan, I feel like you're a bigger fan than I am.
Could be. I was thinking about it, and I would, because when we were watching the movie, I was thinking about like where I would put it, even in the Gates of Hell trilogy. And like for me, definitely, I think probably City of the Living Dead would be one. And my problem comes in with Beyond and House by the Cemetery. I do like House by the Cemetery's like score quite a bit, and I think the score really helps out, and especially like the stuff with Anya Peroni, like the mannequin scene, the weird like surreal stuff that's going on throughout that movie. I think really helps out. I think the Beyond like artistically is more interesting. The like concepts around it are more interesting. The literal just intro is more interesting. I think this movie is really good. I think if I had to, I was thinking about like what I would put it next to, and I was thinking maybe like Enigma. I know that's not like a favorite of other people, generally speaking, but Enigma would probably be around where I would put House by the Cemetery. If that gives you an idea. So it's not like top Fulci. If I had to think like top Fulci, we're talking like oddly, The Devil's Honey is up there for me. New York Ripper, all the ones we've mentioned. I was looking over at my Fulci collection that I have here, and I was like, yeah, even like The Eroticist is like maybe more interesting in some ways than even House by the Cemetery. It's really good though, like in comparison to like you're saying Italian cinema in general. I think it really does hold its head up high as being very interesting, but it can be boring. I watched it with my girlfriend like pretty recently in the past like month or two, and that was probably her least favorite one. And I showed her the entire Gates of Hell trilogy and New York Ripper, so that
Don't
gives you an
feel
idea.
bad, man. Like the erotic thing of Fulci, like yeah, you feel like a gross man like watching it, but it's cool. It's a cool 5-6 year span of his life, like where he's delving into that. They're great movies.
And then, actually, I don't. What was your opinion, Diggs?
Yeah, it's out of the Gates of Hell thing, and it's by far my least favorite out of all of them. I'm pretty. I think I mentioned this before in the chat. I'm like, pretty much like a Fulci neophyte in that I haven't seen like a ton of it. I'd seen all the Gates of Hell stuff, Zombie, and probably New York Ripper, and that was about it until a couple months ago. I've kind of just been first kind of diving into like Perversion Story, The Zen and Woman's Skin, Don't Torture a Duckling. And kind of out of all those so far, House by the Cemetery has been my least favorite. But as you guys were saying, it's definitely not my least favorite Italian horror flick I've seen, because it's like miles better than like a ton of them. So I think it sits in a nice spot. But definitely out of all of his stuff so far, it's kind of been my least favorite, and the one that I would revisit the least, even though I have that beautiful 4K disc that Dan showed.
Oh yeah,
I don't
that's
see
sexy.
myself going back to it soon.
Oh, that 4K.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that 4K. Brian. So why is it such a big favorite of yours?
Oh, just the atmosphere. And I like the mystery surrounding it, and like who's living in the cellar. And the villain is one of my favorite makeups done. It's just it looks like his leather face, its skin rotted away, no eyeballs. Just looks really cool.
You just like that he's Jewish. Is that it? You just like that he's Jewish. You just like you like Eli Roth. You're into like you like the Golem, and you like Dr. Freudstein because they're both Jewish. That's your thing. I get it. You know what? I love a good piece of Jewish cinema. I understand it. It's just for me, the non-Jewish cinema of Lucio Fulci works a little bit better. That's just my opinion. So this should be Michael Keene. He likes rape and anti-Semitism. So yeah. I think that Italian cinema. What was I had a question for this movie too.
We all hate Bob, right?
We all hate Bob. Yes, Bob.
Yeah.
Fucking Bob. Fuck Bob.
That's the thing.
And I honestly, I know that a lot of it comes down for a lot of people to the. God damn it! I need to figure out this whole like chat thing. This is awful. All right, so I know that a lot of it's in the voice, and I do feel bad for the actor. I know that he's had to apologize a lot about the voice, but, and I hate to say this, I really hate to say this, part of it's just his fucking face. I don't like
his
his
fucking terrible. Don't apologize for that.
It really
looks like a troll
that,
doll.
It blew my mind when you said that he looks like Ruben from Midsummer, and I was like, "Holy shit, he does!" Like
He
exactly
looks
like
Ruben
him.
from Midsummers. He looks like Dauber from Coach, Patrick Starr, whatever.
Yeah.
However,
Like Gobber, he does. Yeah.
Oh, he's terrible. He's disgusting. He's a disgusting person.
Like, who was the casting director on this? That's the criminal here. Like,
He
it's
should
not
be
the
killed.
kid's fault.
Well,
It's not the kid's fault. I'm sure he's a cool dude in real life, but the casting for this, for the two leads was great. The two leads are fantastic, but the fucking Bob, like, is just, everything about him is the worst. And just, I mean, honestly, don't have a child be one of your main characters. Don't do it. Just period. Don't do it. Unless you are like god tier director of children. Don't make, especially in a horror movie, do not make a small child your protagonist, for the love of fucking God. Because, like,
for me, it
doesn't work.
Terrible. Like, he was obviously bad. Like, but I'm a dissenting voice here. I didn't do that much at all. A few shots were cool. The gags were cool. Some of the filming, the cinematography and stuff, it's all right. But like, I had a hard time like dialing in. Like, I couldn't. Like, I was distracted with the chat easily. As we talked about everything else at some point.
We talked about Twin Peaks for 20 minutes.
Yeah, everybody has their opinion on the first, but I'm drawn in. I'm pretty, new to Italian horror, and there's movies I like, but this is not one of them. It was boring to me.
I think part of what you might need for movies like this is to watch them very solo or in like a theater environment.
It really is. Like, there's a lot of shitty movies that you're like, okay, these are shitty movies, and you get drunk and you watch them with people, and they're good. Italian horror in general, nope. You watch them by yourself.
Yeah,
it's the only
it's
way
not a
to
crowd
enjoy
sport.
them.
Yeah,
I don't get it, but that's it.
Yeah, I think it's part of it is it's such a. I was talking about how with Mother's Day, you need to hook the audience, and the first act does that very well, and it kind of allows you to get through the second act if you have misgivings with that, to get to the third, of course, which pays it off nicely. And the problem with a movie like this is it's so illogical. It does not really have a lot of setup and payoff, at least not in that traditional sense. It doesn't have like this is a thing that we're going to put this here, and as the audience member that you need to remember this thing, because in the third act, motherfucker, it's gonna pay off. None of that.
There was no character development.
And you're not gonna find that really.
Even like I say, like the opening, part outside the slashing the heads off in the cult or whatever it was. The girls have a slideshow and it shows their type and it has a story already. It's like 90 seconds. They throw it out there, and that was like more character that I cared about them through the whole House by the Cemetery.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying is like you in a Mother's Day you have characterization and you have beats, and it's a traditionally written film. A movie like House by the Cemetery or Gates of Hell, aka Say the Living Dead, or The Beyond, doesn't really give a two flying fucks about character. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but they're not really what you're going in to watch for. You're going in to see very outlandish visuals, which is where I think this movie falls short in a lot of places comparatively. You're there to see really violent action full of blood and gore and death, and you're there to see that kind of there's a word for this and it's just escaping my mind, but sort of almost Lovecraftian tone where it's like, I don't know what the fuck is happening, but it's very bad for these characters, that's for sure. And it's a tonal ride is what you're kind of in for, which again, The Beyond does it much better. Gates of Hell does it a lot better, and that's why I like them so much. But I think that if you're by yourself, or again in like a theater environment, and you're watching it and you don't have any distractions, when we watch this, we have distractions not only with our watch party, but also Joe Bob stopping the movie and talking about it. You're not getting the experience that it kind of needs for you. And it's one of those things like, you have a lot of art films where you have to like kind of soldier on through it. And it demands a lot more out of the audience. And by the way, for folks that don't like this movie, even with that, that's fine. Like, I'm not saying that you have to like this movie. There's no such thing as a movie you have to like, except for Freddy Got Fingered.
You can't make me like it, Michael Keene.
You don't have to like anything.
Well,
Just like
now
you
we're
don't have
talking.
to.
Freddy Got Fingered. Now we're talking. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It's almost an interesting choice because it's like these are not party movies. Like a lot of these Italian horror things are not party movies, like it is a singular experience in that you are supposed to, the emphasis is on, and it took me a long time to get around to this, where the emphasis is on the vibe and the aesthetic and getting in the mood and the atmosphere. And to really do that, it is like a singular experience that, like Flickering Waves is saying in the chat, it's a detriment to break that up with the fun Joe Bob commentary almost.
I agree.
Yeah,
You're 100% correct, and I hate to be like, oh, yeah, the guy from Half Baked or whatever, where you're like, oh, if you're stoned, it's so much better. But Italian horror movies are kind of the thing where you have to be isolated, you have to be alone, you have to watch them, and that's it, and yeah, you have to do that, and if you need people, it's Italian horror or Italian anything, for Christ's sake, isn't for you.
Yeah. And there's some, like, I think that like those like Fernando de Leo crime flicks, like those can be more like that kind of thing's more of a party.
We put on a Bruno
film.
Mattei movie. That's a party.
Or you put on a
movie.
Bruno Mattei. Yeah. like the ones that are just bad are kind of party movies. A Troll 2 type thing, for example. But yeah, with a film like this that is considered by many to be a good example of quality Italian horror. Yeah, you're generally, even like Jolly, work better for the most part by yourself. There's some that stand out, like I watched Death Laid an Egg recently with my father-in-law, and it was kind of nice to just like be able to talk about it during the movie, because it is such a weird like specific film. But for the most part, like, I get a lot more out of, say, Bird with the Crystal Plumage by myself. I get a lot more out of New York Ripper by myself, but only because I don't want the shame in the moment.
That was the first Fulci movie my wife saw.
Oh, that's a great impression.
It was a great start.
She's a brave woman.
I like that. The question I had for House by the Cemetery, I realized near the end I just needed like topics for each movie, and the one I had for that was, why do we love Italian horror? Because that's kind of the topic that Joe Bob breaches with Eli Roth. But we kind of, it's vibes mostly. It's vibes and a very specific tone that you don't get out of other. Well, you get it out of like Spanish movies of the time period as well. Like, it is very much a Euro horror thing. But it kind of, like, Italian horror is kind of the epicenter. That's like that's the flavor. You like the flavor. These other flavors, they taste similar, but that Italian flavor. It tastes like this racist accent. It's good. And It very much, yeah. As you said, Diggum, it's a vibe, and you're just vibing, and sometimes the vibe doesn't work for everybody, but it's very much a thing where if you go in, you put on your head. It's like listening to opera, I assume, where you go in, you put on your headphones. It's not a rock concert. It's not to be enjoyed with like a crowd of people like shoving their bits together. It's just you're in the moment, in your own head. And whatever happens, man. And then you hit that bowl, and it's with a little bit of that giving yourself in mentally to it. I think they all work a lot better. Doesn't mean you're gonna like them all by any means, but I think if you're like us and you watched House by the Cemetery for the first time, and you had the Joe Bob breaks, and you had maybe your friends over, or you were part of a watch party, you were tweeting along with it, whatever, and you didn't like it, I would suggest going back, sitting down again, maybe even like if you can put some headphones on, like I like to put on my headphones when I'm watching on the PS4, and just like sit back and let it all just wash over me, like milk. And like that's how you want to do it, man.
Just do a double check, like milk.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wash
okay.
up in
No, I
milk?
just wanted to double check.
Like a nice milk bath.
Yeah, nice milk bath. like a pregnant woman in a photo shoot. Let's see. Oh, expanded score for House by the Cemetery just released for pre-order. Okay, I'm assuming that's a vinyl. I don't really do vinyl, but I know Diggum does.
Yeah, I just stopped doing that.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. And then CR says, yeah, Fulci films, especially during this point in his career, are very much mood pieces. You have to immerse yourself in the atmosphere and visuals. Yeah, 100%. And I think, he did it kind of the best. I mentioned Lovecraftian earlier. It's well documented. Fulci loved Lovecraft. Gates of Hell, aka City of the Living Dead, is pretty much the ultimate Lovecraft influenced Fulci flick. Manhattan Baby is another great example, which is almost like his dream cycle movie in a way. That might be overselling it a bit. Don't go into Manhattan Baby expecting peak cinema.
Manhattan Baby's amazing though. Like when I first saw it, I was like, I don't know, and yada yada. But then I watched it, and I was a Fulci fan at the time. But holy moly, that's a great movie.
I like Manhattan Baby. It is a film that needed. I think that one. I might be misremembering, but I think that's one where the budget got cut right before they started shooting. Like they had like some like really big investor. And then, like, I don't know if, like, the investor pulled out, or they were like, actually, no, or maybe it was DeAngelis was producing, and he was like, fuck it. I don't remember what the issue was, but they had a stated budget, and then that thing got slashed like nobody's business. And you can really tell. And it's kind of frustrating, actually, because it could have been, like, peak Fulci. And as it stands, I would call it underrated good Fulci. Actually, Dan, what do you think of Manhattan Baby?
I think it's okay. I'm not a big fan of Manhattan Baby. I think it falls in that area where like everything lined up and he was like at the top of his game, so like it looks really good. It sounds pretty good. The story, for whatever reason, I just never am able to hook my like claws into and really enjoy too much. So it's really an aesthetic pleasure to watch for me, rather than like I never know what's going on in that movie. Like I know there's like they get like an amulet and from like Egypt, and from there it's just like Bob's being an asshole the whole time because he's in that one too.
Yeah.
It's definitely every Fulci movie ever.
Well, no, I mean his earlier stuff makes sense, and there's like Devil's Honey makes sense. Devil's Honey makes sense. His Jolly. Devil's Honey makes perfect sense. His Jolly work really well. As I said, Beatrice Chincy, or however the fuck you say it. By the way, I started taking Italian lessons on Duolingo. I might go full over from Swedish into Italian. Because I was like, you know what? I suck at everything relating to the Italian language. I should probably work on that if I'm going to be talking about Italian movies all the fucking time. So I have started to work on it. I'm still going to suck for the foreseeable future. I went over 400 days with Swedish in a row, and I still suck at it. So by virtue of that, it's never going to get great, but I should be getting slightly better.
How many Swedish movies have you done, though?
I've probably watched 20 Swedish movies in my time. Like if I stacked them all together, that's probably roughly the amount. So not a whole lot. So I don't, mostly all I do is do my Duolingo. I don't watch a lot of Swedish as much as I would like to really dive into the rest of my Ingmar Bergman collection. But I do watch a lot of it. The problem is though, I watch a lot of Italian movies that are dubbed in English. So I don't even get experience. Like, I don't watch a lot of like Fellini. I'm watching Fulci and Argento and Martino and Lindsay.
Dubbed is so much better than subbed.
It's true.
It's so much funnier.
Yeah, and I love explaining that to people. Like it's one of the weirdest things about being a fan of these kinds of movies is like you forget how sort of insulated it is and how the outside world doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about. And you'll say like, oh yeah, you got to watch the English dub of this movie. And people are like, well, why wouldn't you want to watch in the original Italian? And I see this on Twitter all the time. Film Twitter is always like, oh, you got to watch it with subtitles. And it's like, no, you do not. It is a bad idea. Do not do that because it was not shot with sound. Well, sometimes they were shot with reference sound, but it was not shot with sound. This is all dubbed. The Italian's dubbed. The English is dubbed. The Japanese is dubbed. Everything is dubbed. It's just people speaking their own fucking languages or being phonetic or whatever. And so, there's some, like, if you have, like, all Italian performances and, like, the Italian actors are doing their Italian dubbing, maybe. But most of the time, that's not the case. Most of the time, with the movies that we talk about, just watch the English dub. It's, what are you going to do?
I watch Fellini with the subtitles. I watch Lenzi. Not so much.
Yeah. It comes down to the films you're watching. If you're watching, let's be honest, kind of dumb horror movies, you just watch the fucking dub. Because it doesn't really, no one has their own voice anyway. Like, especially like if you have American actors in the cast, 100%, everybody's just doing their own thing. It's all bullshit. So the Italian dub is probably going to be the one that's mixed better, generally speaking. But I don't think that the difference is great enough to say that the Italian dub is mandatory. I wouldn't besmirch anyone watching the Italian dub over the English dub for any of these movies, but at the same time, it's one of those, like, when people on film Twitter are like, oh, you got to watch it with the subtitles. No, especially with like a Fulci where it's really about the visual vibe. I wouldn't say subtitles are super distracting or anything, but you are more likely to miss the literal greater, like, overall picture in front of your eyes if you're spending so much time reading. Says the Luddite Michael Keene of YouTube.
How dare you? No, you're fine. It's those people are buttholes. You read if you want to read, otherwise don't.
Yeah. RC 2001 Studios, hell of a name, says, thoughts on watching Fulci flicks in Italian. I recently watched Murder Rock for the first time in Italian, and I kind of preferred some of the voices that way. As I said, it's a very, your mileage may vary, but B, what you have is you have two soundtracks, and both are oftentimes voice actors or sometimes the Italian actors doing their thing. And if you are going to be comparing and contrasting the two, it's always going to be a different thing. Like, it's never going to be always the Italian or always the English. as far as the quality of the voices and quality of the performances. You're always going to have differences. I haven't watched Murder Rock in Italian, so I can't say one way or the other how I feel about that, but it's always going to depend. Like, some English dubs are fucking awful. Like, there are some English dubs that take you back to, buying Dragon Ball Z movies off of eBay on VCDs or whatever, and, listening to fandoms. Like, it gets that bad. But then other times, like I was talking about Crimes of the Black Cat in that review, which is sorely underwatched, you motherfuckers. But like, it's a really good dub that they found that for me works really well. Especially Anthony Steffen's voice actor is fantastic. And I didn't watch the Italian version. Maybe it's better. I have no fucking idea. But the dub worked really well for me, and it kept me in. I took it seriously. It didn't hurt it. I think also if you watch a lot of Italian films with the dub, which actually, actually taking that back, they're almost all dubbed anyway. So once you've watched a few Italian movies in any way, shape, or form, you're going to get used to the not syncing up. I see that problem a lot with people. They're like, oh, I can't stand that the lips don't sync up. And it's like, well, they never fucking do. And that's a lot of movies from this period even that are not like English or American, I guess.
At least we know why does it sync up now.
Yeah. Like, it was much cheaper to not shoot sound on location and just dub it all later, which makes a lot of sense. I kind of want to do it for my movies because it's kind of a pain in the ass to get a sound guy out there. And I don't like waiting for everybody to get laved up. I don't like having to worry about, the boom operator switching between the two actors and, oh, fuck that up. Got to do it again. Well, fuck, sound. Come on. Cat speaks Italian. That works. And he also says the Italian dub has better language use since the English dubs are dumbed down for a translation. The actual scripts are no different, so it's whatever. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Americans and English people speak a dumb language. We're all dumb. That's why we take over the world and subjugate people who talk and look different, because it's all we have.
Right on, bro. But,
have you guys?
Go ahead.
Sorry. Have you guys seen Sleepless by Dario Argento and compared the two dubs?
Sleepless is such a fucking pain in the ass when it comes to the dubs. It makes me so angry. Dan, if you could describe it, because I think you'll do a better job.
Well, I know I just watched the English dub. I haven't gone to the Italian one, and I know everything in the English dub is pretty bad, especially in Sleepless, except for Max von Sydow, which they got for that role, and his voice is really good. So if you listen to the commentary or something, Troy Howarth and Nathaniel Thompson say you got to switch between English when Max von Sydow is on the screen, then Italian when he's not. Another example I would have that maybe you'd switch between is Demonia. I know for a fact has different music cues in the Italian track. So sometimes there's stuff like that too. Yeah.
The Max von Sydow thing is wild. It is absolutely insane how bad his the Italian sounds versus his actual voice. But then, also the dub sucks for everybody else. Like the detective in that movie really gets the raw end of the deal in the English dub. It's so bad. It's so bad. I think I wound up watching it with subtitles. I don't remember now. It's been a while. I know I tasted both. I don't remember what I watched the whole thing with. It was probably the subs, honestly, looking back, because I think I remember realizing how bad the dub was and saying, fuck it, I'm out. Let's see. Yeah, so a lot of dubbing talk in the chat. Let's see here. I don't really have any notes. I was doing a lot of editing on this doc during this movie because I've seen it, and it's a perfectly good Fulci film. Does anyone have any other? There's not really.
I do.
Another thing with. Okay, yes, Brian, go.
I love how most of the shots in the movie lingers on way too long than it should. Like the bat or the woman being trapped in the door. Yeah, or Bob just yelling for his mom for 5 minutes by the door. I just love how overly long all those scenes are.
That bat scene is it honestly it raises the movie like half a star for me. It's so good. It's such like I think one of the beautiful things about Italian horror movies like this is there are moments, a lot of moments in Fulci specifically, that feel beautiful. They feel horrific. You know, you get like this, again, this mood, this vibe that you just jive with, and it feels Lovecraftian. It feels, you know, scary. It feels dramatic, whatever. And then you get the bat scenes, and the bat scenes are hot fucking garbage, and they sing. They sing to you. And that fucking bat is so just terrible, and then it's so gratuitous as well, and I love it. It's as CR just said, it's out of the top. It's out of the top. Jesus Christ, it's over the top and out of nowhere, and it's one of those that you just have to see to believe, and then you just go back into the movie and you go back into the vibe as if nothing happened, but you treasure that bat scene. And a lot of these movies have a bat scene. Some, like Troll 2, are all bat scene, but like there is the bat scene that just you if you described it to someone who was not familiar, they would say, "Why the fuck are you watching these garbage movies?" But then you see it within the context of the film, and it's just part of the symphony. Yes, as far as the lingering shots, I love a good lingering shot. I love a good slow burn's not the right word for this movie, but that kind of cinematography where it just chills with it, man. It just says, "Hey, we're gonna watch that, and we're gonna keep watching it. Should we cut? Let's keep watching it a little bit. Let's keep on that. Sir, should we? Nope, just shut the fuck up and, yep, just keep up. If you cut, I will fucking ruin you. Just stay on it, man. Just feel the vibe.
Keep poking her with the stick. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. You keep what?
So not okay. Yeah. Oh, never mind.
I think Fulci did hate bats. I think he hated animals. Fulci just hated everything. Let's be honest here. Fulci was just not happy with life. I think that comes with another thing. Like, people don't realize this about Fulci, and I know they don't realize this because anytime I talk about the comedies, there's always like 5 people who are like, "Wait, he did what now?" But Fulci didn't start doing horror movies until he was well into his career. I think he was like in his 40s when he started doing horror movies.
Yeah, he was middle-aged.
Yeah. Like most of his horror movies, like he was dealing with like his diabetes and shit. Like he was done.
He was smoking maggots accidentally.
Yeah, smoking maggots accidentally. That's a great story from City of the Living Dead. Like he was an old dude who had been dealing with the system all of his life. You know, he was basically a studio director. You know, he's doing all these Franco Ciccio films, or Ciccio, how the fuck you say their names? Dan, do you know how to say their names?
Franco and Ciccio.
Oh, so I had it right the first time. Fuck. Okay. I know the Italian. Doing all these Franco and Ciccio movies that, you know, he apparently was pretty good at. I assume enjoyed to some degree. I don't know. But, you know, obviously he had some darkness in him that he needed to get out. And once he got, I don't know, that taste of horror, once he like that was successful for him, just went all out. But it was when he was middle-aged, and he had a lot of, he was a cranky little motherfucker. That's like the best way I can describe Lucio Fulci, a cranky little motherfucker.
He yelled at Stephen Thrower even.
Oh yeah. If you read Stephen Thrower's book, he talks. Goddamn, Oh, I just hate this little. Let me just move my little boy. If you not that it matters. Next time I do this, by the way, I need to, when I create the overlay for it, I'm just gonna make myself a little box so I don't have to worry about like where I am on the thing. I fucking hate technology. See, I'm like Fulci. But if you read Stephen Thrower's book on Fulci, he talks about like his experience talking to Fulci and trying to get like notes for the book, basically. Not great. Wasn't good. He was a cranky little motherfucker. And you know what? Gave us some great movies, potentially because of that, including some deep hatred of bats. Where do you view the comedies? I can't find. You can't. It's really hard to find the comedies. You can find 1 or 2 Franco and Ciccio films on YouTube, but they don't have subs, so good fucking luck. The Eroticist was on a Severin DVD. Is that right? And that is out of print. So
Pay $40 for it. So worth it.
All right, so yeah, you can go on eBay, pay like $40, and watch The Eroticist. I don't think anything else is really available.
No, it's all on Italian DVDs. You'd have to import without English subs.
Yeah, so you'd have to find those, rip them, somehow magically find sub files online for all of them,
Italian.
or learn Italian. Really dig into that Duolingo. So the options are kind of there, but not really. We desperately need a company to make a box set of Fulci comedies. Honestly, what's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars importing all of those DVDs and VHS tapes. And the second I get all of them, the holy union will be complete. And then somebody, Severin, whatever, will announce the big 4K UHD set of every Fulci comedy.
Like Massacre Time.
That's kind of like fucking Massacre Time, dig 'em. Oh, Nelly. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's okay. It's a beautiful media book. Oh, it's beautiful. Looks great. Oh boy.
Have you watched that one yet?
So, I watched like 20 minutes, and it's my usual thing where
that dub was rough.
Dub is rough. That's one thing I am excited about is, I guess that's probably the only English dub. So, I'm looking forward to having the subtitled version, because the version I have is subtitled in German, which does not help me at all. But yeah, I'm gonna probably do a review of that version at some point just to stay ahead of the Arrow release, and then I can do a compare and contrast when that gets released. I'll be doing a lot of Fulci in the near future, by the way, so we'll dig more in. But yeah, a lot of his early stuff is just not there. Kat, now's my time to shine. I can teach you Italian. Just give me credit card and weed. Oh, Kat, I love you, but no. So yeah, I don't give cats weed anymore after the incident. So yeah, House by the Cemetery, rather.
You were gonna say Cemetery of Terror. I was like, what?
It's now we talk about the Mexicans. Yeah. So yeah, I would say, guys, I like this format. What do you think? You like this format?
Yeah, I could do this once a week.
Yeah, and maybe we'll even come up with a different show for other things. But this is fun. This is nice. I think we're gonna. I guess last minute for those who are still here. I guess we lost the other two.
They fell asleep.
Yeah. I'm shocked by how many, like, we only had, I think, peak of like 35 viewers, but considering the time,
yeah,
not bad. We'll see how this does, as far as people watching the stream later. I think, gosh, I don't know. Like, on the one hand, I like going to bed early because I'm old. But on the other hand, it's kind of fun to talk about this immediately afterward.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess real quick, there's a question unrelated to Fulci, but how many Ralph Bakshi movies do you own on Blu-ray? I don't think I actually own any Bakshi Blu-rays. I own Wizards, I think, on DVD, unless I bought the Blu-ray and I just forgot. Which I'm at that point in my life where I just forget these things.
I almost bought Fire and Ice, but I'm convinced Blue Underground's going to do a 4K.
Don't you have
I did
heavy
buy
traffic?
I did buy Fire and Ice. I'm remembering. I don't own Heavy Traffic.
So if you
I don't think
if
I
you
own Heavy
own
Traffic.
Fire and Ice, that means they're clear to do a 4K then.
They are clear. Yeah.
Okay.
Guys,
Good to know.
you've got my permission since I bought it. You can any day now. Just put that 4K together. But yeah, I don't own a lot of Bakshi despite loving him. He's one of those directors who I've watched his movies, but it's all like been like when they're on whatever service. And then like I remember actually I watched. Did I watch Wizards at Dragon Con? It doesn't matter. No one cares. Yeah, one day I'll do my collection video and you'll see. I really don't own that many movies. I mean, comparatively speaking to like a lot of the people who watch my channel and who partake. Have you delved into Milligan Set yet? I haven't had time. I don't want to get into like the details, but there's been serious family stuff that has occurred that between that and my heavy workload, that's why I'm doing so many live streams right now, is my plan to do a video a day got severely derailed. I actually was supposed to have a Vinegar Syndrome catch-up video out by now. That got heavily derailed. I have not been able to dig into the Milligan Set. It's just been bad. It's been a bad time. But luckily I get to hang out with people like these fine patrons of mine, and you fine chat people, and it's, I get those little pleasures. Oh, that's true, Flickering Waves.
Yeah.
Perhaps not every week will be a 5-hour plus episode. Yeah,
For real.
that's true. This was very late. Anyway, yeah, I think, what was it? I think Diggum and Dan, both fans. Or no, wait. Brian's the big fan. I'm getting mixed up with
I got
Mother's
thumbs
Day.
in the middle.
Thumbs in the middle. And I thought, still really solid Fulci, just nowhere near his best. And I don't really fully grasp why people think it's his best. I don't get it. But I appreciate it. Whatever you love is what you love, as I say this one time. As is my motto that I'm premiering right now. Whatever you love, you love. Whatever you hate. But maybe don't hate things as much. Fulci's the gift that keeps on giving.
That's true.
I legitimately do not hate a single Fulci movie that I've seen, although I've still not seen Sodoma's Ghost. So anything's possible. But I am the guy who thinks Conquest is one of his best movies. Don't at me. So, I have the taste of something that doesn't. I have the taste of a severe COVID case. That's what I have. Yeah. So anyway, like the video. Any last minute? Any last words from you guys?
The only thing I had to really bring up was regarding House by the Cemetery. I was thinking, like, is that movie like not as good or interesting as maybe The Beyond or House or City of the Living Dead? Because like Catriona McCall's character is like less involved and she's a little bit more colder in that movie. Wonder if that just plays a factor in it being less appealing.
Actually, that could be it, because like Gates of Hell / I always call it Gates of Hell, but I know most people refer to it as The Living Dead. Does benefit a lot. So yeah, I think that might be part of it. I think because we focus on a lot of Bob and we focus a little bit more on Jack Torrance or whatever. Yeah, I think that and she is a bit cold in the film comparatively. Sure, yeah, I think that's a reasonable take. I think actually, if I remember correctly, I think Stephen Thrower even brings that up in his review in his book, that it's, or maybe it's in the commentary. I don't fucking know. I've taken in so much Fulci content that I don't even know where my sources are anymore. It's just all over the place. It's usually Stephen Thrower though, or Troy Howarth. Fuck, god damn it, I just don't know. But yeah, I think that's a reasonable assessment
I'm shocked
of a
that
big flaw.
no one talked about the ending of the movie, of how weird it
Oh,
is.
the nonsense ending. I think that's one thing it has in common with Gates of Hell. Is the ending is just sort of a like, okay, actually, well, Gates of Hell makes less sense because at least in this film, it's like, oh yeah, they're trapped in the house and they, I guess, are ghosts or whatever who will, they belong to the house or something.
That's how I interpret
Whereas Gates of Hell is just like, we're just fuck weird, and then it ends. Just scream. Well, it's just a kid. He's just walking towards me. Just scream. Okay, I guess I'm gonna scream now. I love it so much. I love Gates of Hell.
Me too.
So much. It's such a good movie. Yes, and all else fails, a tribute to Henry James. Boom, done. You're good. With that being said, guys, like the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I don't know why you haven't subscribed if you watch. I feel like everybody... I know for a fact from my stats, just about everybody who watches my video is a subscriber, which is bad for my growth, but whatever. And guys, check out the Patreon if you have the extra shekels. Do that. If you don't have them, don't. Easy as that. But we have a great time over in the Patreon Discord for $10 and up. Folks, yeah, all these people who are providing me with content right now, yeah, I don't pay them. They pay me. They pay me to be here. I'm gonna get them all to drink some fucking poison flavor. I swear to fucking God. So with that being said, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate you watching my show. And until next time, I did not update the credits, so they're from last month. I suck ass. Maybe go watch a movie.